everyone, my name is Kelly and I'm so excited to be sitting with you guys today. Michelle, thank you so much for inviting me to join you guys today. I was actually thinking about it before I walked into this beautiful studio our girls have set up, and it's insane that it's just the four of us sitting here, and out there's so many more people, and not just from Durban, not from Joburg, but across the globe. And I just welcome you and so excited to spend this little time together.
I know, thank you Kelly, so lovely to have you with us. I love having young people in the studio because you bring a different energy, and so thank you for highlighting that for me, because every single week I think of that. I think of we sitting here and how many people are part of this beautiful online family. So if it's your first time here, we just want to say you are so welcome. We see you, and my name is Michelle, I'm the online pastor, and just go with the flow today. We've been in a series called Help, I'm in a Family, and if you've missed the messages before, you can just find them on our Facebook page or on our other platforms. But the series on Help, I'm in a Family has got 4 images: mirror, mop, mantle, and mat. And it really has helped us reflect on how we respond or react to the world around us. But I think for me, more than that, it's how much of ourselves do we surrender to Jesus in this space. And Wayne will be sharing this week on mop. And it sounds like we might have a lot of cleaning up to do.
Kids are shouting, they need my time. Chaos and laughter all entwined. Through every hug, every little fight, love shines bright in the morning light.
Help, I'm in a family. That might be the cry of your heart. And Grace Digital, I'm so delighted to be with you. I'm in a family. You're in a family. And they all look different. And by the way, we're a family, even though we don't see one another and we might be very far apart. But if you've been following over the past few weeks, we've sought to deepen our relationships. We've sought, if necessary, to heal our relationships. And I hope you've experienced some of that. And to do that in both our families and more broadly, in fact, all our relationships. The images of the mirror, the mat, and the mantle have guided us this far, and I pray that you've been inspired to shift and grow. In fact, it's really my prayer that you have seen a change in the way you relate to family and to friends. We're all on a journey growing together, right? Now, today's invitation may be the most challenging of all. It also may be the most rewarding. So join me, if you will, in a small exercise. Would you fold your arms just where you are, sitting on your couch, in your bed, in your pajamas, but just fold your arms. And are you comfortable? I'm comfortable. Now, do me a favor. Swap your arms around. Do it the other way. And I must confess, I can hardly do it. This is how I'm comfortable doing things. Now, I hope you're struggling like I am. Now, when we pick up this next image, the mop in our relationships, when we decide to put the well-being of others ahead of our own, when we make a decision to serve those we love and those we work with and those we go to school with and relate with, it can feel unnatural, like changing the way we fold our arms. It can also feel risky, unsafe. It seems that the most natural way of doing relationships is work out the hierarchy, work out the power dynamics, who's above who, who's the boss of who, and then you act accordingly. You know, when Michelle and I were heading for marriage, my dad gave me a book to read. It was called Letters to Philip. It was a beautiful letter from a father to his son as his son headed towards his wedding day. And the opening words of the book went like this: take charge. Men, how's that working out for you? On face value, it looked like, take charge, my boy. You the boss and be the boss. But the invitation was far deeper than that. It was take responsibility. Step up and serve. It's like step up and down at the same time. Step up and serve your wife and your family. Don't abdicate your responsibilities. The father was writing, "This role, my boy, is a new season for you. It's a new privilege as a husband and as a father eventually, and it's a new responsibility to serve your family with all that you have." Take charge was the call. Pick up the mop and serve. Now, two highly respected people in my family, they're all both passed away. My father and my uncle, and both said to me when I was young, "You know, when we look back on our lives and on our primary relationships, our marriage, and after many years, sadly, the things we fought about so passionately in those early years, the things while we were working out who was right and who was in charge, and there were hills and battles between us that we were prepared to give our lives for. They were such a big thing. Now, looking back from a distance, these two respected men said to me, those battles seem so trivial and so insignificant." Well, as they talked, I remember as a young man thinking, Michelle and I won't be that stupid. What are you talking about? And now, by the way, we are the older couple looking back on our lives, and the power struggles of the early years do seem so trivial. Now, we have new things, but those are certainly trivial. It's funny, isn't it? Now, even Jesus' disciples, the very men who walked with him daily, they weren't immune to the classic human tug of war for power and control, right? Now, imagine the scene. One day, James and John, they were called the sons of thunder. So perhaps they had some anger management stuff. And perhaps after catching Jesus in a good mood, they approach him. And they approach him with a bold request. And this is how it went. "Teacher," they said, "we want you to do for us whatever we ask you." That's the classic setup, right? Jesus, say yes to our question before we even ask. And they must have been aware their question was dodgy, right? Say yes before we ask. Now, Jesus, with the patience of a saint, literally a saint, played along. He said, "What do you want me to do for you?" Well, here's their ask. "Let one of us sit at your right and the other at your left when you're in charge of everything, left in your glory." Essentially, they were saying, when you're in charge, can we be your right-hand guys, right and left-hand guys? Can we be the real VIPs of the kingdom? Can we be top of the pile? And by the way, it didn't stop there. And I love the way the gospel writers just lay it all out. The other disciples caught wind of this little power play, and they were not thrilled, right? You can cue the eye roll and the grumbling and the moaning and the bitterness, and suddenly you've got a room full of grown men acting like siblings, fighting over who gets the front seat. Now, I bet you're in a family and that's happened to you. In John's gospel, by the way, it gets even more messy because the mothers of these two guys get involved. And they say, John has the mom saying, "Can our sons sit on your right and your left?" Can you see this big family getting all in a mess, right? So Jesus says to them in essence, one day you're going to look back at this little moment and think how trivial and small-minded we have been. I mean, the fact that they write it into the story so transparently suggests that this is exactly what they realized. Now, this is how Jesus responds. "Whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant." If you want to be great, top of the pile, you've got to step downwards. It's counterintuitive, right? If you want to be up there, you need to go down. He told them that true greatness doesn't come from wielding power, but from serving others. He would model this for them. Wrapping a towel around his waist, he would kneel in front of each of them and he would wash their feet. If you've ever had that experience, it's deeply, deeply humbling. One by one, Jesus, in front of his friends, kneels and washes their feet. It's the job of a servant. It's an act none of them volunteered for. And I don't think this was necessarily easy for Jesus, right? The temptation to power up and subdue was there at the beginning of his life. You know, he was a 30-year-old when we read in the scriptures how he was led into the desert and he was tempted. And the temptation was this: wow the crowd with your strength and with your power, and they will follow you. That was the temptation. And he rejected that as a young man. On the cross, later on, while being mocked and sworn at by a crowd who was shouting, call on the powers of heaven to save you, call on the angels to come and protect you, the temptation again was power up. It was real, but his love for the people was greater than his love of power. So he whispers, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. So this all too human scramble for status is a mirror for us. In our relationships, where do we fit and who's below who? How often do we, like the disciples, angle for control or recognition in our relationships and our homes? And Jesus' response invites us to a radical shift, like folding your arms another way. It might feel unnatural. It's to trade our desire for power with the desire to serve. To take on the attitude of Jesus, the attitude of humility, and the attitude of love. To pick up the mop in the image we hold before you today. And it may feel as unnatural as folding our arms the opposite way. The temptation is real to stay where we are. We all wrestle with power struggles, the need for control, and the fear of being taken advantage of or being out of control. So in a world that tells us to fight for position, protect our interests, and never let anyone walk over us, Jesus offers a radical alternative. One that begins not with grasping for power, but with a towel, with a basin, and before you we set the mop. John, Jesus' best friend, records Jesus washing his disciples' feet. John records not only what happens. John was the last gospel written, so he's looking back years and years on this moment. So he records not only what happened, but also what was going on in Jesus' heart and in his head. And here's what he writes. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power. Jesus knew that he had come from God and that he was returning to God. And so knowing this, he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, wrapped a towel around his waist, and he washed their feet. Jesus was secure enough to serve. I want you to note, he knew who he was, he knew where he had come from, and he knew where he was going. And in a sense, that's what I'm hoping we catch today. That's what we're about today. I'm hoping that we will know who we are, that we will know where we come from, and that we'll be increasingly aware of where we're going. And out of that knowledge, we would be free to serve in all our relationships without fear, without burnout, or without imbalance. I wonder if you're keen for that little journey as we continue today. So first then, we serve securely by knowing who we are, being secure in our identity. Now, many of us struggle with serving in relationships because we attach our worth to how others respond to us. If we serve and get appreciation, we feel great, don't you? Hey, I served and asked Donald Trump. You got to be thanked, and you got to be thanked regularly. Now, if we serve and get ignored, we feel used. But here's the beauty of Jesus' example. He wasn't swayed by how people treated him. He served because he was already secure in his identity. Jesus knew who he was. He was a child of God, the Son of God. Jesus knew he was the beloved of God. At that very moments before his temptation, Jesus hears God speak. Of all the things God could say to him, he says, "You are my beloved child, I'm pleased with you." Jesus didn't need to prove anything. And friends, that's a beautiful, secure place to be. When we are confident in our identity in Christ, we don't serve to earn love. We don't serve so that we might be loved, accepted. We serve because we are already loved. And you may be here today confident that you are a child of God. And I pray that you may be so secure in that truth that you're able to sacrificially love and serve those in your family and beyond in a way you've never done before, because you know who you are. You may be wondering whether God could ever love you. And you've been fighting for your place in the world and even in your family. And my prayer today is that you may be secure in this truth. You were created, if we read the story of God and His people, you were created in love by an all-loving and an all-powerful and an all-wise God. You are not an accident by any means. You cannot earn God's love. It is given unconditionally. So that means when we get it wrong, we're not loved any less, and God's grace is enough. Enough for you and enough for me. I pray that you'd be secure in this truth. You are of infinite worth. The Creator, if you can catch the image, kneels before you to serve you and to love you. Wash your feet. And God declares, through all of Scripture and from the heavens, you, just where you are my beloved, and I am pleased with you. If everything in you says, not me, interestingly, Peter was one of the friends in that room where Jesus washed his feet, and he said, not me, Jesus, not me. You're not going to wash my feet. And if you do, wash all of me. And Jesus says to him in essence, unless you let me do this for you, Peter, you're going to miss out completely. So don't be Peter. If you are wondering where you fit in with God, it's as simple as saying, me too, God. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for serving me. Thank you for your grace and your forgiveness, which is enough. I wish to follow you, Jesus, and live out my life secure in who I am, a beloved child of God. And now, knowing who you are, who we are, we can love and serve our families and friends without becoming resentful or exhausted, because that can be a risk. But when we know who we are, we can serve with endless and boundless energy. We serve out of a secure place. We pick up the mop and serve best when we know who we are. Now, also, when we know where we come from, we can serve with humility without losing ourselves. And that's a beautiful place to be. We can serve humbly without getting disconnected with who we are. You see, Jesus knew he had come from the Father. And because of that, he could take the lowest position without losing his dignity. I don't know about you, but sometimes we fear that serving in a relationship means being weak or allowing others to walk all over them. Serving feels like losing. But true servanthood isn't about becoming less valuable. It's about using our strength to lift others up. So we're invited to be wise as we serve. Don't enable others. Serve with healthy boundaries. And I think it's important to have healthy boundaries in our service of others. Even for Jesus, he took time. Don't lose yourself and overextend and get all burnt out. Don't serve out of a place of frantic ill health. Don't avoid conflict in the name of service. I'll just keep the peace. I'll just be quiet, always deferring to others. You don't need to do that. It's part of healthy serving. Don't serve up and store up resentment. Take time for self-care. And if you feel resentment building up in you, then pause. And as Jesus did, often take some time out Work out again who you are, and work out where you come from, and then you can serve healthily again. You see, servanthood is not about losing yourself in the relationships. It's about giving yourself with wisdom and with strength. So be wise. Healthy servanthood means knowing when to serve, and also, by the way, when to say no. So if you're in a relationship where you feel you're giving it all, take some time to work it out so that you don't build resentment. Perhaps there is a relationship you're thinking of now where you feel you're losing yourself a little. Take some time to reset, take care of yourself as Jesus did, then take up the mop and serve with wisdom and with strength. May you know who you are. May you know where you come from. And lastly, may you know, like Jesus, where you are going. And that would be serving with purpose and not with obligation. You see, knowing who you are, your identity, knowing where you come from, humility without losing yourself, and knowing where you are going, serving with purpose, not obligation, is just a beautiful thing. See, Jesus was returning to the Father who had sent him to bring healing to the world. His service had purpose beyond the moment. He could power up and destroy everything. That was a choice. But he had come to heal relationships. That was his reason, between God and God's people, and between the people and themselves. You see, if we get our why right, we serve to deepen and heal and refresh our relationships. And after all, what else lasting do you have to do? What else do we have to do with our lives? If we don't have a clear sense of why we serve, we can fall into resentment, frantic service that leads to burnout, or just plain imbalance. Servanthood is not just about the action. It's about the heart behind it. So when we serve without purpose, this leads to frustration. And I don't know if you identify with that. But when we serve with purpose, our why clear, it leads to fulfillment in all of our relationships. So we need to ask, am I serving to manipulate? Have you heard yourself? I'll do this, and then you, what are you doing in return? So I'm doing this to manipulate you, to get you to do something. That's not helpful. We've lost our reason. Am I serving to be needed? So in other words, I need to serve you whether you need it or not. So I'm going to do this, and even as you object. It's my need I'm fulfilling, not yours. Or am I serving you because I genuinely want to love you the way Christ loves me? So perhaps you can think of a relationship where service is more about you or about obligation rather than love and the health of the relationship. So take some time, even this week, to work out your why. Jesus knew where he was going and he knew why he was serving. Anyway, so after washing his disciples' feet, Jesus said this, I have set you an example, that you should do as I have done for you, for one another. Now, this doesn't mean letting people take advantage of us. It simply means this, being secure enough to serve, being strong enough to humble ourselves, and being wise enough to know that servanthood is not about losing ourselves, it's about finding joy in the lifting up of others. So, in your relationships, would you think with me for a moment? Ask the question, am I secure enough to serve? Am I serving from love or from fear? And how can I follow Jesus as an example in a way that brings both humility and strength into my relationships? My prayer, friends, is that you would indeed, in this week to come, just simply pick up the mop, do the very unnatural thing, and discover incredible health and life for you and for your family and for your friends. And it would be my privilege to simply pray for you, for me, for us today. Let's bow our heads. Lord, thank you for the incredible example that you set for your friends. They were wrestling for position, and yet you stepped down, knelt at their feet as you do ours, and seek to simply serve us. So I pray, Lord, that you would help us in this week to come to serve from a place of security, not a place of striving. I pray, Jesus, that you would teach us to simply be humble like you, yet help us to be strong in our identity. And I pray that our relationships will reflect your love, marked by grace, marked by wisdom, and marked by mutual service. Lord, if there's anyone today who just wants to say, Lord, I'm going to stop the striving. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for serving me. Thank you for your grace. I pray that you'd hear their prayers and that a beautiful reconnection between you and them would be so real and tangible. I pray, Lord, for all this community, Grace Online, would you be our source of strength and comfort. Amen.
Sure, thank you, Wayne, for that message. And I just feel like God's going to be doing a work in our hearts this week if we let Him. And, you know, as we grab our mops this week and we wrestle with our servanthood, I pray that we will do it wisely in God's strength and with a clear purpose, as Wayne said. And I don't know about you, but I think we all want life and health in every aspect of our relationships, without compromising who we are. And who we are is our identity in God. And even as I say those words, it's a lot to take into account. And so, sure, I'm going to be walking around with a mop this week in my hand, I think, because it feels like there's a lot of servanthood to reflect on. And maybe just the image of a mop helps us do that.
Thank you so much, Michelle and Wayne, for leading us through that. As we keep worshiping, we step into a time of giving, where we trust God, not just with our words, but with all that we have. And since we're currently in a season of Lent and sacrifice and reflection, this is a chance to realign our hearts. Remember that everything we have comes from Him. And I honestly just love that when we give, it's not just about money, it's about surrendering and letting God use everything that we give to Him to not just impact our own lives, but the world around us. So if you're new here, please don't feel obligated to give. Otherwise, scan the QR code that will pop up on the screen. And if you'd like to give, just simply scan and follow the steps.
Yes, thank you. And as you do that, we're just going to continue with a heart of worship, and as we listen to the song together.
Thousand generations falling down in worship to sing the song of ages to the Lamb. And all have gone before us, and all who will believe will sing the song of ages to the Lamb. Your name is the highest, your name is the greatest, your name stands above them all thrones and dominions and all powers and positions. Your name stands above them all.
hope you enjoyed that beautiful song of worship, and if you want to listen to some more songs or our playlist, we have one on YouTube, and our hosts will drop a link in the comments, and then you can click on that and just listen to the beautiful songs that we have. Take it in your car, listen to while you're working, but really it's just beautiful, and carry that worship in your heart all this week in song.
Yeah. Guys, in order for our campus to thrive, before you head out, we'd just like to remind you, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. If today's message encouraged you, why not share the love? We love having you here, and I love being here with you guys, so let's stay connected. So go ahead and hit that button to become part of our family.
Yes, and next week, don't forget to invite someone, or to the next series even. It's called God Did What? And that's all I'm going to tell you. So invite someone to sit with you the next series, and if you've missed some of the other series, you can find them in all the spaces on our social media platforms. Kelly, thank you for joining us today. Have a beautiful week, and you also, online family, have a beautiful week.